Today we have the opportunity to honor the Reverend Clarence Eisberg, a man who has dedicated his life to the ministry for the past 50 years. I have been president at Redeemer for the last few years, and I can say that it has been a joy and an education working with this man. Enjoy the video.
Woohoo! 50 years? Has it really been 50 years? Are you that old? Hey, let's have some fun. Seriously, though. Seriously, Clarence, congratulations. So happy to be able to celebrate with you just in this video. In all things, you have really been my brother as a mentor over the years, as a partner, as one who willingly gives honor to a position and a friend. I'm just thankful for all those things. Let's do our best. Can we find a solution here? That's who you've been. That's who you've been. You've been that to me. You've been that to so many of us in the church. What a wonderful day to celebrate together with you. Bless you, brother.
When Clarence Eisberg was throwing hay bales onto a truck in his youth, do you think that he thought about a future life in the ministry? His mother would answer yes to that question. Irene Eisberg said that Clarence declared early in life that someday he would be a pastor. Clarence counters that his mom dedicated him to the Lord much like Hannah dedicated Samuel to the Lord. I think they were both right because after the 8th grade, he left home to go to school at St. Paul's High School in Concordia, Missouri. But let's back up a bit. Clarence grew up on a farm in Keytesville, Missouri. He was born in 1947. That date clears things up because I always wondered how a guy who only looks 55 years old could be celebrating 50 years in the ministry. Pastor Eisberg's father was also named Clarence, but Pastor wasn't Clarence Jr. I asked how his mother and the others differentiated between the two. In the South, it is common to call people by two names like Ruth Ann or Mary Beth or Anne Marie. Let's let Pastor explain it.
Are you a junior, Clarence Jr.?
No, I'm not. But my dad's name is Clarence John William, 4 names, and mine's just Clarence Henry.
So how did they differentiate you from your dad when you were young?
Oh, gosh, do you really want me to go into that? Oh, my gosh. Well, in the Midwest, as you know, whether you grow up in Missouri or Arkansas or wherever you grew up, you always have 2 names. Billy Bob or Jerry J. And mine was always Clarence Henry, no matter what. And they wanted to talk to my dad, it was Clarence. They want to talk to me, it's Clarence Henry. And that probably even lasted even after I was ordained, I think.
He worked on a farm. He drove a tractor at 9 years old. He was a member of 4-H. He showed steers and heifers. Life on the farm teaches many valuable life lessons. Most are good, but not always. When Clarence Henry was 14 years old, someone intentionally burned down the family barn. To this day, Pastor doesn't know who did it. His father said he did know, but wasn't going to tell Clarence. His father simply said, "I forgave him," and left it at that. When Clarence Henry left home to go to St. Paul's High School, he enrolled in a curriculum that, in essence, was a 12-year path to the ministry. 4 years of high school, 2 years of junior college, 2 years of senior college, and then 4 years in the seminary. Besides numerous classes in theology, he had to become proficient in German, Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. Of the 40 men who started with Clarence, only 12 eventually became pastors. It was in junior college at St. Paul's that he met Colleen Smith. They dated for a couple of years, but then parted ways as Pastor went to Concordia Fort Wayne in Indiana, where, by the way, he played on the golf team, and Colleen went to Concordia Seward in Nebraska to get her degree and teaching credential. For most people, the long distance would end this story, but the romance burned hot even during the 2 years of separation, and when they graduated, they got married in 1969 at Zion Lutheran Church in Lone Elm, Missouri. That is the same church that Colleen's parents and her grandparents got married in. Besides getting married at Zion, Colleen was also baptized and confirmed there, plus she attended that same one-room Zion Lutheran school as a youngster. A few years later, she became a bulldog at Concordia, Nebraska, and earned her teaching credential. All totaled, between Missouri and California, Colleen educated young people for a total of 32 years. Clarence and Colleen waited 6 years before they had children. They had two smart, athletic, and very handsome boys, Ryan and Aaron. From left to right, Aaron is married to Megan and Ryan is married to Jennifer. Pastor and Colleen are now blessed with 8 grandchildren. I personally think this beautiful family shot taken at Redeemer should be blown up and displayed over the fireplace. Aaron, Megan, Ellen, and Henry were the first to send us this video.
It's not ready yet. It's not straight! Henry, focus. This is for Grandpa.
Hi, Grandpa.
Hey, Dad. Congratulations on 50 years of service in the church and even beyond that. It's amazing about how many churches and things that you've led, like Henry laughing in the middle of this. Couldn't be more proud. But we're so proud. So congratulations and all the amazing people that you've led to Christ and building buildings and people and systems to continue the journey so that people can follow Jesus for the rest of their lives.
Thank you for being such a pillar of the family. We love you.
Love you.
We love you. Congratulations.
Love
Smile.
you. Hallelujah.
Amen. Praise Jesus.
Oh, goodness.
Do you think Grandpa's going to cry when he sees all these things?
Maybe.
Do you think he's totally going to cry? Do you think Grandma's going to cry?
Yes, I know Grandma's going to cry.
Here is Aaron's older brother, Ryan, who is sitting on Dad's lap, then getting ready for church. And here he is with Dad climbing Machu Picchu in Peru. Ryan, Jennifer, and the 6 kids had this to say about Pastor Eisberg.
Grandpa, congratulations on 50 years in the ministry. We're so proud of you for the way that you have led not only your flock, but your family for this time. We thank you for all you've done, the example you set, and the ministry that you continue to build for God's kingdom. Job well done.
Thank you so much for all that you do for all of us. You truly live out your ministry with your family, and that is rare, and we are totally blessed by it, and we love you very much.
Happy 50th. We love you, Grandpa.
And now, to celebrate your 50 years in ministry, the children have put together a stirring rendition of one of the church's most beloved songs. I'll turn it over to them.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so.
During Clarence's 3rd year in the seminary, he came all the way out to California to vicar at Grace Lutheran Church in Visalia under Dave Coleman. Clarence says that Pastor Coleman was a great mentor and probably convinced him to stay in the ministry. Clarence quickly became an outstanding youth minister, and because of that drew the attention of the late great Pastor Stan Quebe. He liked Vicar Eisberg, but in those days the vicar had to go back to Concordia to finish his last year at the SEM. When he graduated, Emmanuel put out the call to Clarence. He accepted and was mentored by Pastor Quebe at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Fresno. Clarence and Colleen lived for their first 6 months with Virginia Johansson. Stan Ryan and Dick Udy were 2 of his early board members. That was 50 years ago. Pastor and Colleen have been in California ever since. Here they are cutting their ordination cake. With their fingers, I guess. Clarence quickly got to work and started the Together Celebration Youth Program. They hosted church youth groups from all over the valley. Paul Quebe, shown here with Brother John, was the son of Stan and Dolores and was the MC multiple times for the 3-day program. Pastor Eisberg was a great addition at Emmanuel. Besides ministering the youth and occasionally preaching, he officiated the weddings of several couples, including Rob and Frankie DeWitt, who, by the way, look the same as they did 44 years ago. He also officiated at the weddings of John and Karen Rutherford Coyne and Mike and Paula Watney, among others. Recently, on All Saints' Day, Pastor reminded us that the Lord will make us all young, like in our wedding photographs. After 5 years, he moved on to accept another call. He must have liked the name St. Paul because after going to St. Paul High School and St. Paul Junior College, he took a call at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Merced. He ministered there for 25 years. The church grew and they built a bigger church. And then they built a preschool and then expanded it to a 1st through 6th grade elementary school. Pastor never hesitated to jump in and help his volunteer members. He was also very instrumental in ministering to the Hmong in Merced. He partnered with the late Pastor Kusang Tao on the left, who Clarence called the Apostle Paul to the Hmong. One super highlight was the baptism of 115 Hmong Christians in a beautiful ceremony. Pastor's ministry to the Hmong continued in Fresno. He has teamed up with the enthusiastic Pastor Dua Zhang, who somehow finds the energy to minister to congregations in both Fresno and Merced. The 50-year ministry didn't always have smooth sailing. In 1999, cancer struck the usually vigorous pastor. Chemo and radiation took its toll on Clarence, and he basically retired from St. Paul's. God's timing isn't always our timing, but like Pastor says, God sees the big picture. It's amazing how things often work out. Redeemer in Fresno needed a part-time pastor. After more than a year of treatment, Pastor had regained some of his energy and agreed to preach on Sundays and come to the office 1 day per week. Redeemer had only 13 members, so a part-time contract pastor should have been perfect. Little did he know that within a year, 100 people would transfer to Redeemer when they heard that Pastor Eisberg had returned to Fresno. The part-time pastor needed to be full-time again, and he accepted a call in December 2003. Pastor Eisberg has been instrumental in encouraging and training young men to get into the ministry. When a new pastor is ordained, it is a joyous day and an important event as church leaders near and far come to celebrate. One of our favorite sons is Dan Hughes, the grandson of Stan and Donna Ryan. Dan was ordained at Redeemer, assisted there, and then pastored his own church, Zion Lutheran Church in Portland, Oregon. After 6 years, he returned to the Valley and is now the lead pastor at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Clovis. There was never a dull moment with Pastor Dan.
50 years is a long time. I served with Pastor Eisberg from August of 2009 as a vicar. I left for Portland in 2016. And I must say it was an adventure, to say the least. I think the best way for me to explain what it was like working with Pastor Eisberg for all those years is by giving the illustration of this coffee bean. This little green coffee bean. There's 2 of these that come in each coffee bean. But it's really hard and tasteless and useless unless it gets roasted. And then once it gets roasted, then you grind it, and then it goes to caffeinate the masses. It brings joy to the hearts of people who consume it. That's what it's like working with Pastor Eisberg. I was but a green little coffee bean, and I was roasted and tested in the fire, and then I was ground and then set free to bring the joy of Christ in ministry elsewhere. So I want to say thank you to Pastor Eisberg for his training. I also want to say that I remember having all kinds of fun, crazy ideas while I was a vicar and associate pastor at Redeemer. And I have to give Clarence credit because he never shot down any of my ideas. We didn't go with all of my ideas, trust me, but he never shot them down. He just said, oh, let's talk about that. And we would always brainstorm whether that idea resonated with the mission of the church or not. And I learned a lot from that. So thank you, Pastor Eisberg, for all those years of training, for taking me, this green little coffee seed, and letting me roast.
Pastor Dan, do you have any other vivid memories?
I think when I was a vicar, Pastor Eisberg tried to make a cowboy out of me. Didn't really take, though. He gave me this hat the other day. This is the closest thing I have to a cowboy hat. But I remember when I was a vicar going on a camping trip with him and riding George, his horse, for the first time. I fell off, and subsequently I fell off of his horse every time I rode. It all crescendoed in this moment where I was riding George. I was going to fall off of George, and I somehow had a perfect landing on my feet, and people clapped, and it was hilarious. I didn't know what just happened. But yeah, I wasn't a very good horseback rider, nor were my aspirations of being a cowboy like Clarence fully realized. But it was a fun experience I will remember forever. Thank you, Pastor Eisberg.
More recently, Pastor Eisberg has mentored the Reverend Scott Jacobson. He is serving at two churches, St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Selma and Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Carruthers. The Reverend Travis Wright is also serving at two churches, Trinity Lutheran Church in Exeter and First Lutheran Church in Dinuba. In addition, he captains an annual mission trip to Guadalajara. Pastor Eisberg's most recent assistant here at Redeemer is the beloved Reverend Jim Fennessy. I can't look into the future, but I'd put money on it that he is doing a great job today as MC for this 50th celebration. Between Pastor and Colleen, they have participated in mission trips to Kenya, Cambodia, Turkey, and Hong Kong. Pastor's influence has extended far beyond his great Sunday sermons. He has performed hundreds of weddings, funerals, confirmations, and baptisms. This includes ocean baptisms. He has hundreds of sermons on the internet. In addition, he has put in many years serving the Lutheran Church at large as circuit visitor, chair of the district youth committee, and regional vice president. Pastors get lots of letters, but this one hit home, especially after questioning his return following the bout with cancer. It says, "Bishop, you know, when I first met you, I thought there ain't no way this guy will ever get the title of bishop. He can't even find his way to Pismo, let alone run a church. But guess what? After 30 plus years in the ministry, I think you finally made the grade. You are truly a gift to this congregation, and don't ever forget it. Thank you for being my pastor." Signed, Marv, the Prez. That was our church president and organist for many years, the late Marvin Beer, who always told it like it was. Sometimes you don't need any words. Paintings from Donna Ryan and Bev Huggins can say it all with background music from one of Pastor's favorite songs.
God's own child, I'll gladly say it.
Pastor, there will probably be a couple hundred people at the 50th celebration, and many more perhaps from your former churches. Do you have a message for them?
Yes, thank you for asking. You know, when I think back over 50 years of ministry, I know it's a long time, but I remember when we first started at Emmanuel with Pastor Quebe. I suppose we were all young and brash, and I was glad that we could still finish our ministry of 50 years together with some of the people that we started our ministry together with. But when I think about ministry, I think about baptisms and weddings and all the joys that go with that, but I also think of all the hands of close friends that I've held in the last days in the hospital, and share Bible verse with them as they prepare to enter their heavenly home. It's always days of importance, but difficult as well. But I want to thank especially all the congregations that I've been involved with that helped me in my ministry. Colleen and I really are deeply thankful for our Redeemer family and the ministry that we share together. It's just been great.
Many here today have been baptized, confirmed, or married by Pastor Eisberg, but all of us have been blessed by his wise counsel, steadfast leadership, thought-provoking Bible studies, and wonderful sermons. Please join me in congratulating Pastor Clarence Eisberg on joining an elite club of pastors who have ministered their flocks for 50 years and counting.